Hey everyone, welcome to the Stride to Freedom podcast. My name is Russell Benaroya, and I'm the co-founder of Stride Services, a virtual back-office bookkeeping and accounting firm serving hundreds of clients around the United States. This podcast is designed to help small business owners focus on growth and innovation. In other words, focus on those things that inspired you to start your business in the first place. We call it your Genius Zone. We do our job on this podcast when business owners feel like they have the trust and confidence to build the right team of partners around them that will help them grow. Thanks for joining. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Stride to Freedom podcast. My name is Russell Benaroya. I am your host. What is the Stride to Freedom podcast? It is an opportunity for us to help you get and stay in your zone of genius. What's your zone of genius? The zone of genius is that thing you do that is uniquely yours to own. It is where things feel effortless, where you lose track of time, where you are achieving your highest and best use. And we bring guests onto the show that are in the business of helping business leaders get and stay in their genius zone. The Stride to Freedom podcast is sponsored by Stride Services. We're an outsourced back office bookkeeping, accounting, and CFO advisory firm for professional service companies like MSPs, managed service providers, and marketing agencies. What is our Genius Zone? Our Genius Zone is helping business leaders use data to make better business decisions. Okay, let's jump into the episode today. I am excited to introduce to everybody Doug Hall, the infamous Doug Hall. Hey, Doug.
Hello, Russell. Good to be with you.
So great to see you. Doug is a business coach that supports business owners that are unsatisfied with the status quo. He helps them upgrade their leadership and management teams. And what I love about Doug is he is not a one-size-fits-all guy. There are a lot of business architects out there like Michael Gerber or Jim Collins or Verne Harnish or Patrick Lencioni or the EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. All of these different experts have architected business model operating system designs. And what Doug does uniquely well is bring the right solution to the right company, the right leadership team at the right time. I am selfish because I've had an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with Doug. I admire his application of these operating systems. And I also admire that he comes from the enterprise, like he is an entrepreneur as well. And so I wanted to have him on the show to help business leaders better understand what it means to bring someone like Doug into their organization and what they might be looking for to determine if Doug can help. A great fix-it guy. How are you, buddy?
I am doing great and great to be with you. So that was a terrific intro. You covered a lot of ground there, so we'll unpack some of that for the folks so they understand what you said.
A lot of words. But first, I want to know why. Well, first, I want to know where you love to ski. And I want you to talk about the fact that you were a ski patroller for 30 years, being on ski patrol for 30 years. Like, why'd you do it for so long? What is it about skiing that lights you up?
So when I was a kid in Wisconsin, my best friends literally in grade school, I think it was sixth grade, if I remember correctly, or maybe seventh, they said, hey, we're going skiing at the local little mini hill. So Wisconsin is flat, in case nobody knew that. There is one official mountain in the middle of the state, and it's like 1,000 feet high. So we went to a place that's a hill, and they made the hill taller by putting trash on top and digging a hole at the bottom. So that just gives you some idea, how dedicated we were to skiing. But back when I was a kid in the 60s, it was cold in Wisconsin. I mean, we didn't have this goofy weather. It was legitimately cold. So friends took me, fell in love with skiing. My parents never skied a bit in their life. I was the oldest of five, so that started my other four siblings on their ski journeys. But anyway, I fell in love. They moved us to North Carolina. I'm like, oh no, there's no snow in North Carolina. They said, oh, don't worry. they have snowmaking down there. That was my first exposure to water coming out of a gun under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So my skiing continued as a high schooler there. I finished high school, went to college. And when I went to college, I had one simple thing. I'm going to go skiing. So here I am in the 70s applying for college. Where did I apply? University of Colorado, University of Utah. Got accepted to both. How did I decide? Took out my road atlas, took a protractor. This is the old days, guys, analog. And I said, well, which from Boulder to the nearest good ski area? How far is that? From Salt Lake City, from the campus to the nearest ski area. Oh, Snowbird, Alta, Park City. That's easy. I'm going to Utah. So literally I drove to Utah that fall, started college. Finished, got out of there, came back to North Carolina, married my high school sweetheart. And I told her early on, I said, look, we're going to have kids, right? She said, yeah, we're going to have kids. Well, it's pretty expensive to raise them on the ski slopes. How about if I become a ski patroller? So I had a couple of friends who were in that. Their family all got passes. So the long answer to your question is I grew up with all that. I decided to start ski patrolling as a young husband, not even a father yet. And then we literally carried one baby after another up to the ski areas wherever we lived. I patrolled at 6 different areas across the country in North Carolina, Virginia, Northern Idaho, and finally Alpental at Snoqualmie, Summit of Snoqualmie. So I retired in 2006 and went and took my last corporate job in Florida as a VP of marketing in the computer industry. That was the 30th to 35th year of my career. And somewhere in there, I realized, Doug, you're not a real good employee. You probably ought to be self-employed. You probably are a little wild for this crowd. And I took my own advice and started my own, broke out, took a package to leave in 2011 from 2012. So I'm now celebrating my 10th year into my 11th year of self-employment, and decided I'd move coast to coast 4 times for different career opportunities. Said I have one more move in me, move from Central Florida back out to Seattle, my favorite place, because it has big mountains, lots of snow, and deep blue water, because I was boater, golfer, and skier. So I work to support my fun habits, right? So
I love that about you. I definitely receive you as somebody who works to live, who is an architect of the life that they want to design. I always say, oh, I should know. I wrote a book on the topic, but writing a book on the topic and living it, right, every day, like that's the journey and that's the work. And I wonder, is that some of what you try to bring to the leaders that you engage, not only helping them architect the operating system for their business, but aren't you really helping them architect the operating system for their life?
Yes, that is astute. I practice on myself now. I'm of Medicare age. I don't always look like it to folks, but if I were normal, I'd retire, but I'm not, so I won't. So, by the way, I tell all my business owner friends, retirement is a leading cause of death among business owners, because so much of their identity is wrapped up in their business. Not that it should be, but it is. So if you suddenly retire, you have an identity loss. You have all kinds of cross currents of issues. That feeds back to me getting these business owners to think about sort of 3 things. Are you on a track to achieve your vision, whatever that is, both business and personal? Are you getting increasing time freedom, or is the business managing you? Are you building a business to be self-managing, or is the business throttling you more and more? Too many times it's the latter. And then last but not least, are you preparing for a better exit? So it's part of this designing for more time freedom, designing for a better exit. We're going to exit our business. If you're a business owner, you're going to exit dead or alive. You're going to exit intentionally or unintentionally. So it's better to be intentional. Now, I'm not an exit planner. I know all the factors, but that's not my thing. My thing is preparing for a better exit. And the keys to that, you kind of started to unlock the door. The big key is building and strengthening a leadership team. Building a leadership team and strengthening, because when we start a business, we're alone or a couple of people. We're not even really a company yet. We're just a small business, just a single shingle in a lot of cases. Adding a layer of management is the beginning step towards a leadership team. And then the next step is getting 2 or 3 lieutenants to whom the business owner can entrust key areas like sales and marketing, operation and quality, finance, admin, IT, HR, all that. So when the owner can truly delegate all that and either have them operate as a 3-headed beast running the business, or put somebody in charge as a general manager, now we have the beginning of true time freedom. And that asset then is actually worth more money. So preparing for a better business exit means getting yourself out of the middle of making every decision and doing everything to drive the business. Let somebody else manage it for you.
I know from my own experience, and so I'm going to project on many business leaders out there this comment or question. But Doug, I love what you're saying, but I can't afford to do that yet. And I need to get to the business to a certain point where I have the ability to do all these things that you're saying.
You're absolutely right, Russell. And I've observed this firsthand for 10 years. The last 6 years of being committed to management and leadership operating systems, I've sort of gathered a bag of tricks that is nothing out of the ordinary. Everything I say will be like, no duh, Doug. But the whole idea is to integrate these ideas and turn them into your way of operating. So here's the first step. You don't jump from 0 to 100 miles an hour in one jump. You accelerate as you can build your revenue. You start delegating to people who are either working for you full time and have some capacity, A, or B, you bring in fractional experts. Why would you do bookkeeping and financial analysis and if you could have it done by an expert like Stride Services? I mean, come on.
Your lips to God's ears. Yes.
Right. So you just extrapolate that. Okay, if I'm comfortable outsourcing bookkeeping, financial analysis, reports, financial statements, and then I go, maybe I need to get audited at some point or whatever. If you can outsource that, what else can you outsource or get fractional expert guidance on? So you don't need a full-time sales VP. How about a part-time fractional one that does this for a living? And you're one of 4 or 5 clients they take care of. How about a fractional chief marketing officer that, again, takes care of 4 or 5 clients, and you pay for 1/5 of that expert instead of 100%. So just apply that to everything. The tough one at the last step is, how do you get a general manager without jumping from 0 to 100 miles an hour? Well, you can grow one up internally, which can be uncertain. But better than that, it would be growing up a high potential person internally through operations and bringing in a fractional COO. So a fractional COO would give you a day a week or a half day a week. They should be attuned to whatever management operating system you're committed to. Every business owner has a management operating system in their head. It's going to limit how far they can go. What I do is I bring in a design system using the best of breed elements like you described. Pieces from Verne Harnish's Mastering Rockefeller Habits and Scaling Up. The versions of that Gino Wickman put in EOS Traction, he borrowed from Verne. All the good stuff that that Gino borrowed from Jim Collins, Mike E-Myth Revisited, and Patrick Lencioni. All of those are sort of the source code or the blueprints behind the construction of these systems. And my view for folks is that be careful about buying into any one branded design system because you're unique. And we need to upgrade what's unique inside you, and not necessarily any one system perfectly fits you. So I think there's a concept of beyond EOS or beyond Rockefeller Habits, or you start with Patrick Lencioni. What's beyond the table group and Lencioni? So think of it as a continual growth process and fitting the right parts and pieces together to create your customized business operating system.
What are the stories that as a business owner you would encourage me to either start telling myself or to stop telling myself? Stories that might not be serving me and creating some self-limitations in what it is you're trying to encourage, or to start telling stories that are going to accelerate my path to the realization of what these operating systems and principles can help achieve.
We are our own self-limiting factors as business owners. And every business owner I've ever met had a little bit of imposter syndrome, saying, hey, I wonder if my employees are going to figure out that I don't really know everything I'm doing. Okay. It's like, okay, take a deep breath. It's okay. It's even okay to flirt with imposter syndrome, because the real answer is to go find a better who than you. So whenever you think of something, instead of delegating it to somebody that will do it poorly, in other words, less capably than you, go hire a part-time specialist who's better than you. That would be, so instead of figuring out how am I going to get this done, figure out who can I go get that's naturally brilliant at this. And whatever I pay them, I can probably make more per hour. So let's just say I pay them $100 an hour to do this function that I could do myself. Well, maybe I'm worth $250 an hour going out and getting a new account or doing something else that's more within my genius zone. Got it? So the Who Not How is actually a book that I'm now promoting for Ben Hardy and Dr. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, the founder of Strategic Coach.
Yes,
it is a
I've come across that.
simple but profound concept. Don't think about how you're going to do something. Think about who you're going to do something. Who's my who that can do it better than me? And then now we can create a scalable entity where you're actually you're honing in on your Dan Sullivan's unique ability, trademark. So, find your unique ability. That's where you add the most value in the world.
So well said. There's nothing in these books, and I've read many of them. You're a student of them. You guide and teach around them. There's really nothing in these books that I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that. Or wow, this is like crazy talk. I could never imagine. They're all pretty fundamental. And so what is it that helps you build the bridge, or is a necessary bridge to build, between the obviousness of the language, the words on paper, and then the execution of these things?
So I've had many conversations with business owners who came to me through, and it's always by referral, who said, hey, Doug, I read Traction. I heard it in my fill in the blank, EO, Vistage, YPO, Convene, C12, whatever. I heard it in this group from this other owner. It caught my ear. I read the book. We've been trying to implement it ourselves. And I'm like, how's that going? And they're like, well, it could go better. And I'm like, yeah, some famous author in the systems environment said it's really impossible to change the system when you're part of the system. Mm-hmm. So I'm not discouraging people from self-implementing any of these tools. In fact, you can't hurt yourself. For goodness sake, pick up these books and use them. And you're right, Russell, there's no rocket science in there. But what there is a bunch of stuff. And, oh, by the way, you have a business to run. And you don't have time to sit around and figure out how to be a scaling up Rockefeller Habits, 3HAG, OKR, Traction. You don't have time to figure out how to be an implementer. And by the way, as a business owner founder, you're not the most diligent, detail-oriented person in the world, by the way. So probably takes some diligence and some stick-to-itiveness. And sometimes it takes a kick in the rear from somebody who's coaching you. And it's pretty hard to kick yourself in the rear. So again, I'm not trying to sell people on hiring me or any one coach. What I'm saying is there's a point of frustration where the business owners say, I'm trying to upgrade my operating system. It's just not working right. What's my next option? Well, then I'd say the option is find a coach that fits you. Find somebody that fits your culture. If you can do it yourself, and there are many people who have done it themselves, my first love is EOS Traction. It's got the most support system. It's got the most books. It's got the most stuff for people to work on doing it themselves. That's where I encourage folks to go. If you're going to go into a coach relationship, you got more flexibility starting from Traction on through the other systems. So, it works. It can work either way. It's really hard to change things and drive things when you're running that business, though. So just set your expectations that it won't go super fast.
Okay, so we've established that you are a rear kicker. You're a rear kicker. And when you rear kick inside of the organization, What is the dynamic? Is it like you're coaching from behind the CEO, you're coaching out in front, you're coaching their management teams? Like, what's your reach and visibility?
Yeah. So let me explain the three main roles in my work.
Okay.
So when I engage, first I talk to a business owner and I check sort of the veracity of their commitment. How big is their vision? Does the investment of time and money in me make sense to them? Could I see them getting a 5x, 10x return on the investment? I want to see that, first of all. Then I'm like, look, this is not your decision. I need to meet with your leadership team with you to explain this and get to know each other. If there's a chemistry problem between me or any of them, then that's not going to work for you. So then we go through that step, and I don't charge for that. Do it on Zoom or a quick in-person meeting. And then if they say, yep, all lights are green, let's get started, we go through 2 or 3 onboarding days. And the onboarding days, I'm in role 1, which is teacher. I'm teaching these designed management system tools and methods, which are all built around getting aligned on a vision, getting a shared vision, getting the right people in the right seats on a great team, hitting the right numbers, solving problems towards consistent execution with a sound strategy that they're executing on, getting the right stuff done every 90 days. So we run in a 90-day cadence. And then last but not least, generating superior financials and cash flow. So those are the 8 success drivers, from a shared vision to superior profits and cash flow with everything in between. So what I'm doing is looking to see that they're making progress as we go through each session. And I move from a teacher into a strategic planning facilitator. So I'm literally in the front of the room or on Zoom with them, it could be in person or on Zoom or Teams. And we're going through structured questioning. I have the agendas to get them to a 10-year vision BHAG, to get them to a shared core purpose, to get them to core values and behaviors that are essential behaviors for any employee there. Yeah, things like that, down to a 3-year vision, getting a vivid vision. Thank you to Cameron Harold for that book, Vivid Vision. I recommend it. So a little book call out there too. And then from 3-year to a 1-year plan. Okay, now we're out of the vision and we're down into the plan for this coming year. And then we get into the 90-day execution. So my facilitation is literally every 90 days after we get through that onboarding first couple of months. And then the third role is I'm coach. So Tiger Woods is very astute. He hasn't yet figured out how to watch himself swing a golf club. So Tiger Woods hires a coach to watch him.
How
Now,
about that?
Coach, is that coach a better golfer than Tiger Woods? Not likely.
Right.
But he's a good watcher and he's a good technician. So he'll be able to correct Tiger's form. He can see things and say, hey, Tiger, just pull your elbow in a little bit, a couple degrees. Okay, great. So the point is, teaching is conveying the information. Facilitating is getting the magic of the group, get the whole leadership team and the owner to work together, open, honest, and build a vision that together they believe in, and then build detailed plans all the way down to the next 90 days. And then coaching is watching them do that. And the way I usually coach is, of course, in the sessions, but in between the 90-day planning sessions, I'll visit 1 or 2 of their weekly tactical meetings. In EOS, they call them a level 10 meeting. In scaling up, we call it a weekly tactical meeting. But the whole idea is the leadership team's together for an hour and a half a week. They're solving problems. They're checking in. They're doing accountability on their metrics. Are they hitting the right numbers week by week? We don't wait till the end of the month for financials. We look at, did we win last week? And are we on a path to win this week? And then accountability on rock projects. Rocks are things that we want to improve or grow. And we plan those 90 days at a time. So we have accountability each week among the leadership team. And then the leadership team pushes that down through the organization. So it's a little bit hierarchic in that you start at the leadership team and the owner, get them aligned, get the right people in the right seats, and then continue that down through the organization chart. And it's all built on accountability, roles and responsibilities, metrics, and rock improvement projects. And the cadence is every 90 days with weekly check-ins.
What area of the experience gives you, Doug, the most energy? What do you typically enjoy the most?
I enjoy teaching at first, but really I love the ongoing facilitation, helping stir their pot every quarter, knowing their business well, but not really consulting them, just sort of asking them tough questions, challenging them a little bit, holding them to account if they didn't have a great quarter, if they were behind on some things, or celebrating with them if they did win a great quarter and now they're teed up for another great quarter. So I think facilitation is and by the way, the expert facilitation of their planning is the lasting value. I mean, the coaching is too, and I'm always a resource to them. And I don't have an hourly billing clock. It's just included in my fees. But the facilitation is the magic. That's where the team really harmonizes and comes up with, expanding the vision and bringing it down to the next quarter.
We all like a little bit of nothing like a little bit of drama. Share an experience that just did not go well, like a client where you're like, I worked with them. It just didn't work well for them, and probably a variety of reasons for that. But what are some of the ingredients that result in lack of success?
I have a classic one. So, in fact, it's a pile up of things. So you could take any one of these, could have been failure factors. So friend of mine who I got to know through the networking community ends up going from a consulting mode into working full-time as a head of operations and IT for an Asian-owned U.S. company, multiple owners, and their culture was pretty hierarchic, the Asian culture. And so they had a mix of Asian people. In this case, it was Korean and American, regular Western Anglo folks. Lovely folks, lovely Korean American CEO appointed by the privately held board of directors. And somehow they got the idea from my VP friend that they should use Traction. This goes back several years ago. And I came in and I had the meeting with the management team, and I had some weird feelings. It didn't seem quite right, but they wanted to go forward. So we went forward, and we went through the first session, which is getting them ramped up and going and getting them on traction. And the second and third section, we're getting them in their vision and backing all the way up to clarify their core values. And everything was a pretty hard slog to get through. And there wasn't a lot of harmony between the fairly large leadership team. I think there were 6 people, maybe 7. And this is maybe a $30 million company. So first off, the leadership team was not aligned. And come to find out after the third session, the Korean folks really didn't want to do this. They were just going along with somebody, perhaps my business friend who was the Anglo guy, and thought it was a good idea. And it just all blew up and melted down because there wasn't a real agreement on open and honest of wanting to improve the business and adopt the system. There were fiefdoms in the leadership team. They didn't see eye to eye. They wouldn't open up and talk about it. I couldn't see any obvious signs of that. There were some, but I didn't, and this goes back several years, so maybe I didn't have quite the experience tool set that I have right now. But it took care of itself. They really were not committed. I like to tell people what I do can't be sold. I mean, the value prop has to come in the mind of the owner, like, hey, we're not getting towards the vision. I'm not getting the time freedom, and I'm not preparing this company for a better exit. That's how you sell yourself on upgrading your management system. I can't come in and say, oh, I'm going to increase your sales 20%. Well, I don't know.
Right.
It's not that direct. So that was a pretty classic blow up that was a culture clash. It was hidden agendas, and it was lack of open communications.
So on the flip side now, what are some of the characteristics or attributes of clients or company profiles that you are really, really drawn to, where you think you can have the greatest impact?
So when the owner is ready to be humble and they're hungry for growth, and they really want to enable a strong leadership team. Those are the three essential ingredients.
Humble, hungry for growth, enable a strong leadership team.
Yes, that combination is like oxygen, fuel, and heat to create combustion. That creates owner, leadership, private company combustion.
Nice.
And a couple examples where that worked in the last couple of years. I had a 200 plus person landscaping company down in Oregon that hired me in to help them. I drove down there, did the onboarding in person, drove down to see them. Great team, some family involved, two owners, a 75% and a 25%. Worked with them for 2.5 years, got them really disciplined on running their management system. And they recently sold at a 10x multiple to a private equity firm.
Boom, rock and roll.
Yeah. Similar situation with a agency up here, young owner, only an entrepreneur, never in corporate America, was able to leverage what they did with their management operating system, the disciplines and the more predictable profit, to leverage it into, they can't quite tell me the multiple, but I think it was in the 8 to 10 to 12 range, 12x range, to a multinational advertising marketing agency. And now I'm helping them fold into the culture of that multinational. I know a little bit about that work, having worked for multi-billion-dollar companies back in the day. So it's really fun to help them. So 2 really good success stories of one case. Well, in both cases, they're staying there working. They didn't completely exit and go play golf. The owners are staying on for undetermined transition. And as long as it works, they'll keep working in the private equity environment and in the multinational marketing company. So
I do pound the table that a demonstration of a disciplined operating system and demonstration of a disciplined financial backbone, a financial chassis to your business, significantly increases the likelihood that a prospective buyer will fully value your company versus what we often see is full value proposal, significantly less than full value at the ultimate transaction value, because due diligence is a killer.
No, I 100% believe it. I think what you guys do at Stride with building the chassis gives strength. And then the management operating system is the motor and the gearbox to transmit the power to the wheels.
Totally. Now you have a company which is coaching for CEOs, right?
Resources
for CEOs. Right. I'm sorry. Resources for CEOs, which is your website, resourcesforceos.com, right? That might be one of your most valuable assets. You might be able to unload that for 7 figures one day. Who knows? That's a good URL. Resources for CEOs. And you also do some coaching work in a specific vertical, which is the managed service provider vertical via Connectrat.
Yes.
Are you open to talking about both of those?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about that. As you know, because I kind of connected you and as reconnected to an old friend of yours from EO. Yeah. Connectrat is a vision that my friend Jameson West came up with, and my other friend Brett and my other friend Jason pulled it together. And I'm sort of like the fourth musketeer in that group. They are carrying the vision. They're 100% committed to serving IT managed service providers, which when I heard your commitment to MSPs, and I know that commitment, I said, that's like peanut butter and jelly. So thank you for working with Connectrat. It's one of my affiliations. So I say I'm part-time committed to Connectrat. And in fact, I'm going to be at a IT Nation Evolve group meeting in June in Denver with one of my colleagues from Connectrat. And we're going to be talking about sales to service, handoffs, and project management. And we each have some expertise on that from her current consulting and from my IT background. So that'll be fun. I love working in the IT space. Probably 20% of my clients over time have been IT MSPs. And there's lots of moving parts. It's a very human business, even though it's very technical. It's 100% dependent on humans to do the right thing, to sell the right thing at the right price and deliver services. So it's a great market. Really enjoy working there.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for making that distinction. So resourcesforceos.com, you're open and available to companies across a range of industries. And then you have a particular affiliation with Connectrat, which is really laser focused on the IT managed service provider space.
Exactly. So all of any future IT service related client, I'll move them through the Connectrat system. So, because we can add more value than I can just by myself, because we do more than just the management leadership operating system. We got some other pieces.
Yeah. Okay, great. What is something people don't usually ask you about yourself or your business that you wish they did, or you'd like to share when the opportunity arises?
Well, first off, I'm happy to help people. What lights me up and always have is just helping people. And I love answering questions. And like I said before, I'm 100% in favor of people taking either Traction book or Mastering the Rockefeller Habits and starting to self-implement. There's lots of downloadable tools. There's a variety of websites. I have a passion for self-implementers, so I run a monthly peer group for them on Zoom, 2 hours a month. One of my participants there called it his shot of Red Bull every month, just to come to that group and hang with other people who are doing it themselves.
Nice.
Not that I'm not sponsored by Red Bull. A shot of Monster. There you go.
There you go.
So I very much have a heart for folks who are out there slogging through do it themselves with Traction or Rockefeller Habits. And so I wanted to let people know that there's no bad question. Ask questions. Send me an email. Call me. Mm-hmm. I'll fit you in.
You are that guy. I know that firsthand. I think you have very much a give first orientation. So with that intent, if people want to inquire, the best way to get a hold of you is?
Just go to the website and it'll say contact Doug. It'll shoot me an email through the website. You can find me on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So Douglas M. Hall. So you should recognize me if you get there. And I have mountains in the background, so it's a good clip.
Okay. Good.
And
good lead.
The other thing that's a burden for me, I built resources for CEOs to sort of be an umbrella. So I consider Stride Services to be a partner in that regard. Mm-hmm. I haven't built a listing there, but I have sort of a virtual listing of preferred services. One of the ones that I've known about for 8 or 9 years has recently been enhanced, and I've adopted them in. It's sort of a joint venture, and that's to fill in the gap of manager trainee. First-time managers, first-time supervisors. We have a peer group that operates at the Marriott at SeaTac once a month. So it's similar to what I just said of the Zoom-based for people do it yourself. This would be an in-person 4-hour experience that goes year-round, and we cover a certain curriculum every month, like having hard conversations, dealing with conflict, holding people accountable. It's an awesome program. And then what we recently added, because there's more people want virtual and that's an in-person experience, we have an 8-week boot camp for managers. And I'd say it's mid-managers to senior managers for the boot camp. And that's to really get sharp on their manager, director level, strategic planning, thinking, whatever. Again, it fits into whatever management system they have, whether it's in their own head or whether I'm teaching them something, it doesn't matter. It's the classic manager development training thing that sadly is missing in a lot of companies now. They're just not investing in that.
It's so true. And one might wonder, like, why reserve coaching and mentorship for only the most senior levels of an organization when so much of your productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness resides at multiple organizational levels where they would probably, but no, I don't know if this is true, but they would definitely have a steep learning curve and accelerate fast with some good coaching and guidance. It's nice.
Yeah, and each of these are oriented towards a group experience so that managers, birds of a feather being together can help each other, whether it's in a virtual or a dedicated online class or at the peer group at SeaTac or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's not just being trained or being coached one-on-one. It's being with other people who are in their own journey. So you can learn from each other.
There's a group in Seattle called Journey CXO, which is bringing mid-level executives together. There's a really popular company out of New York called Pavilion that is bringing sales and marketing professionals together in a community orientation to help each other build their careers and their breadth and experience. Some of these companies are getting really well funded. And some of this may be a function of, hey, we've all been inside in our homes for the last 2 years. That desire for peer-to-peer connection is maybe more powerful than it's ever been. So I appreciate you helping to facilitate that in the work you're doing.
I think it's a real need coming out of the COVID experience. Yeah. People want to be together by and large and get the experience of other people instead of being isolated.
I think I have a theme for this episode, and you had such a great phrase, which is find a better who than you. Find a better who than you. And wow, that just puts you as a leader in the right headspace to think of yourself as a conductor of the symphony orchestra, not necessarily being in the chair. And it's easy to get in the chair, want to get in the chair.
I mean, founders started in the first chair, generally.
100%.
And then they built the orchestra, and then they're trying to do this and get up and lead and do this and get up. And no wonder they're driving themselves nuts.
Yes. I think you might actually be being interviewed by one right now. Doug.
Feels familiar, Russell?
I don't know. Am I shaking right now?
We can talk about this.
Yeah, I have issues. Doug, such a pleasure to spend time with you. You have become a good friend. Our relationship was built out of a give first orientation when you reached out to me probably 2.5 years ago. I appreciate you. I value you, both of what you do in the IT services space, as well as for the mid-sized companies that you help support. You do great work. I'm hopeful that everybody listening to this appreciates how you bring value to their organization or could bring value to their organization. And let's just continue this journey together because it is a roller coaster, my friend.
I like it, Russell. Appreciate it. Great to be with you as always. And I hope some folks get some ideas out there. Give me a holler and I'll navigate you to the best resource.
Have a great week. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the Stride to Freedom podcast. See you later. Bye.